I think we are going to go to Central Lobby now, where our political correspondent Nick Eardley is. Hi, Nick.
Victoria, yeah. So in about 3 hours, that vote will start about 100 metres from where we are just now, up in the committee corridor in Parliament. The big question on the lips of MPs in Portcullis House and elsewhere is just how big the rebellion against the Prime Minister is. And I'm pleased to say I've got one of his allies here to maybe shed some light on that, Nadine Dorries, the Culture Secretary. Nadine Dorries, what's a good result for Boris Johnson tonight?
The Prime Minister is going to win tonight, and that's just what we want to happen. We want the vote to take place today. We want to get it over and done with, because there are some really big issues the Prime Minister needs to focus on at the moment, not least the fact that Russia are sending missiles into Kyiv, the fact that we have a global cost of living crisis because of the war in Ukraine. There are many big issues, a cost of living crisis here in the UK as a result. So there are many issues that we need to get on with. This is distracting. You know, today's a day when we should be getting on with the business of government.
So I've been speaking to some of the rebels who think that potentially, well, it's likely they'll get over 100 MPs voting against the Prime Minister, they think, potentially up to 150. That's really damaging, is it not, for the man in charge?
Well, what I say to those rebels are that 40 million people voted for the Prime Minister, the highest number of people who voted for a Conservative Prime Minister since Margaret Thatcher. So what I'd say to them is, it really the place of a minority number of MPs to override the result of 14 million people and a majority who voted for a majority of 83? I don't think it is. And, you know, I'm not sure that's how it works. And I think we want people to continue to support the Conservative Party, and we need people to have confidence to do that, and that their vote is not going to be overruled by a small number of MPs.
But do you accept that dozens of MPs voting against the Prime Minister is bad for the party?
So I think we're in a difficult situation at the moment. I'm not going to lie. This isn't an easy day, but it's a day we want to get out the way, because we know the Prime Minister is going to win comfortably. We know he's...
Comfortably is an interesting word, isn't it? Because it means different things to different people.
I'd love to give you a number, but you know, everyone's slightly obsessed with numbers, and you know we can't give you a number. It just isn't going to happen. But no, we won't know that until tonight, but he's going to win comfortably. And you know, he's the Prime Minister who's delivered the lowest unemployment figure since 1974. He delivered Brexit. He's delivered on the vaccine programme. He personally drove it. He's got so many of the big decisions right. I think people need to reflect on that.
It's interesting because you clearly still think the Prime Minister is a vote winner. Speaking to some of those who've turned against him over the last few days, they've come to another conclusion, particularly those who've been on the doorstep in Tiverton and Honiton, that by-election coming up on the 23rd of June, where many Tories think you're going to lose. Is there not a danger now that the Prime Minister has actually become an electoral liability for your party?
Look, everybody has always written Boris Johnson off before every election. He won 2 mayoral elections in London, when, by the way, it was going strongly against us in the polls as Conservatives. He delivered on Brexit. He's delivered on a massive majority at the polls. He is a winner, and everybody always tries to write Boris Johnson off, but all I would say is look at his track record of winning. We've been in government for, 11, going 12 years? It always gets difficult, but that's the reality of the political cycle. What we need to do is to unite and just make our case clearer, deliver even more than we are doing, which is a huge amount, and stick together as a party. And I think that minority of MPs need to hear that message.
Sticking together as a party is an interesting phrase. I beg your pardon. You are a big backer of the Prime Minister. I think you would accept that you shoot from the hip when it comes to your social media. You've had a big row today with Jeremy Hunt saying various things about his record as Health Secretary. He's a colleague of yours. How do you repair those relationships?
Well, look, it's not something I want to say, but I'm incredibly disappointed that Jeremy Hunt, who said throughout, I'm not going to challenge the Prime Minister while there's a war in Ukraine, has come out and challenged the Prime Minister on the day Russia sends rockets into Kyiv.
You've been questioning his record as a Conservative Health Secretary.
Well, look, he's the person who telephoned me when I was a health minister and told me that we should be removing people from their homes when they test positive and put them into isolation hotels. I'm delighted that we have a Prime Minister in one of the few countries in the world who lifted all of our restrictions, our COVID restrictions, and helped us to open up the economy again. I'm proud of our Prime Minister for doing that.
How confident are you that Boris Johnson is the leader that takes you into the next general election?
I'm absolutely confident, 100% confident.
When do you think that election will be?
Oh, again, obsessed with dates and numbers. I don't know.
Well, we're trying. Yeah, we always try and find things out, but there's a lot of speculation that if Boris Johnson gets through this vote tonight, that he might be tempted to call a general election quite soon to test the very thing you've been talking about, his electoral appeal.
I have absolutely, I just want to get through today and through tonight and get back to doing my job tomorrow as a Cabinet Secretary, delivering for digital culture, media and sport, and doing the things people elected, both the Prime Minister and myself, the job we were elected to do.
But you're certain the PM will win tonight?
Absolutely certain, yeah. There's no doubt.
Nadine Dorries, Culture Secretary, thanks so much for speaking to us on the BBC. So there you have it, Victoria. I mean, amongst the Cabinet, there is some confidence actually that Boris Johnson's going to win this. You heard Nadine Dorries use the word comfortably there, but you'll also notice that she didn't quite define it, and I find that really interesting because just mulling around the corridors here, chatting to Tory MPs about what they think is on the cards tonight, there seems to be an acceptance that Boris Johnson is facing a rebellion of more than 100 of his own MPs. I've heard that from cabinet ministers to senior rebels. They think 100 is achievable and probably quite likely. Some think it could be up to 150. Let's remember, it's a secret ballot. Whatever you're hearing on Twitter, whatever you're seeing from Tory MPs in public, they will be on their own, with their own conscience when they make that decision. And there are some who many of the rebels think may be saying one thing and doing the other tonight. So 9 o'clock, we'll know. Until then, it's a bit of a guessing game.
That last point that you made to Nadine Dorries, that you potentially, if Boris Johnson wins, he could call a general election to test his mandate with the electorate across the country. Who is saying that? I mean, you don't have to give me names, but, you know, is that plausible?
I'm not sure if it's completely plausible, but it's certainly something that is exciting a few people around here. There's always talk of elections every few weeks. I should point that out. It's not something that's definitely going to happen, but I suppose the thinking would be that if Boris Johnson loses a bunch of his MPs tonight and thinks his authority is weakened, but that his electoral appeal is still there, he might go back to the country. I mean, speaking to his allies over the weekend, they were absolutely certain. They were in no doubt that he's the only man who can continue to win votes in the north of England, the old Labour Red Wall for the Conservative Party, those seats that fell to the Tories in 2019, partly over Brexit. His allies are convinced he's the only one that can do that. So, you know, would he completely rule out a general election? I'm not so sure. The truth is we've no idea if that is what he's thinking, but there has been some chit-chat about it, so I thought it was worth at least asking the Culture Secretary, just in case she'd heard something similar.
Okay, thank you. We'll have to find that wonderful woman, the voter who said, not another one. Right, thank you for the moment, Nick.